When I see people saying I did everything and it still didn't work out, you have to look back at why you first chose that person. Remember, the way we think about ourselves is really, really important. And often the way we think about ourselves isn't as good as everybody else thinks about us. So the lowest part of how we think of ourselves is what we attract a partner to. We match that thought. So if we think somewhere in us that we are incapable, we will attract that equal. If we think somewhere in ourselves that we deserve a certain type of treatment, we will attract that person. Even if we know that we deserve better, our deep down thoughts aren't that way. We may not tell anybody that, but it's what we believe. So when we attract this relationship, and then we start to do everything in our power to make it work, believe it or not, we're passively controlling the relationship. Passive controllers are the ones that try and take care of everything. We try and smooth over everything. In a lot of ways, we're like enablers. Try and fix it. Try and make it better. But yet, we forget to ask for help. We forget to accept hugs, ask for hugs. We forget to allow ourselves to be loved. Why? Because we think we need to do everything. We think we need to control it or it might fall apart. That puts a lot of responsibility and strain on the person. And then when it falls apart, we don't know why. A lot of times we're scared to ask for help in case the person says no or if they think we're asking for too much. We're scared to fully empower ourselves just in case we lose the relationship. We're scared to let ourselves shine just in case the person doesn't really like us. And it seems odd, but all of us have experienced this. Well, that's just being human. Of course it is. But as I've talked in every single show, there is always a way to balance these behaviors, and there's a way to understand these behaviors, and there's a way to then shift to get a different outcome. So when you're looking at the relationship and you feel that you're doing everything and it still is not working out, the one person you need to be taking care of is you. If you put yourself first, and not in a selfish manner, in a self-serving manner, there's such a huge difference. Because when we serve ourselves first, it's not out of anger or rebellion or resentment. It's not ego-based behavior. When we serve the good of ourselves, it serves the good of our families. When mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. Everybody's heard that saying. Do you know why? If I'm not happy with myself, I'm going to not be nice to anybody. I'm going to always be pouty. I might snap at people. I will blame people. I will take my anger out on my partner. Is that really the way you want to be? But often we don't do it to our friends. Some of us do, but most of us don't. So, what does it take to stay married once you get there? It takes putting you first. It takes making sure your own needs are met and you don't expect your partner to meet them for you. What does that mean? It means that you understand that your daily needs are met. So you make sure you get enough sleep. You make sure you eat for you. And yes, we can come up with all sorts of excuses right off the hop for that one. Oh, well, I can't sleep because I have this responsibility and this responsibility and this responsibility, and my partner is just not stepping up. Then find a solution. Always look at it as two people standing together in a world that contains a whole pile of other people. If I say to my partner, I'm feeling overwhelmed right now, If my partner is able to help me and he is actually partnering me, he will say, yeah, I can do that for you. But let's say he doesn't get to it when I think he should get to it. Does that mean then I should be angry with him? No, he's a person too with a life as well. And yes, there are a lot of people out there and a lot of examples out there of men and women just never rising to the occasion. So you have to ask, did they want the relationship in the first place? And that's why you really need to look at how you're managing you first in the relationship. If you're bickering at all, please tell me what is worth fighting over. What's actually worth bickering over? Do you want to be bickering every single day? Our egos bicker with us 24/7. So is that what we need to hear outside in our lives 24/7 or in our relationships 24/7? And a lot of this is habit-based. A lot of this is because society says it's okay to treat each other with this level of disrespect. A lot of times we forget saying I'm sorry. Doesn't mean that I think I was wrong and you were right. It's I'm sorry you're hurting. Then you need to realize it's your choice as to whether you shift the behavior that hurt the other person. Sometimes that other person set themselves up to be hurt, and they did. So does that mean then basically you say, well, I was right, you were wrong, and you say it in those exact words? You have to decide what kind of a partner you want to be. And you have to be that partner for yourself first. Remember, if we're two halves trying to make a whole, it cannot occur. AuKeeRa, this is so confusing. It's so overwhelming. No, it's not. It just sounds that way. It sounds that way because we're trying to navigate a relationship that in society today fails on a regular basis. Most people think that the one day, the ring on the finger, the white dress, and the piece of paper changes everything. And I'm here to tell you, marriage is a mindset. It's a choice. It's a partnership. Good and bad means good and bad, but both people need to be working at it. Remember, I said, if you're sitting there saying, I do it all, I've done everything myself, already something needs to be balanced. But you need to look at you first. It does not mean you just cut and run from your relationship. You start to gently examine how you're treating yourself. Am I taking care of myself? Am I getting enough sleep? Am I eating? Do I feel confident? Because if we're lacking confidence, it's going to bleed through everything as well. Well, how do I do that? If you need to sleep, you sleep. And if you need to find help from outside sources besides your partnership, you do it. But you don't do it to show your partner they're not living up to their expectations. You do it because they're your best friend, and you start to understand that sometimes they can't do everything either. You have an adult discussion of your needs and your wants, not taking it personally like the person is failing you. Nobody's failing. We need to talk. Remember the assumption? It's a big deal. We can't assume if we're in a partnership. Things need to be discussed. And you can't discuss it with fear that if you bring this up, it's going to be lost. But when you're talking, it is not to be with blame. I can't get this done because you're not helping me. That is just not a way to have an adult conversation. Adult conversation needs to be solution-oriented. I'm having trouble getting this done. So I've thought about it, and some of my solutions are, if you could help me with this, I could do this, or if you're not able to help me, I could find this, this, and this. What do you think might work for you? Can you take a couple of days, think about it, and get back to me? A lot of times we expect people to be on right now. I need to know the answer right now. Why? We don't like being put on the spot either, so why would we do it to our best friend? Marriage. Marriage is a word. The mindset is a choice. So it does take a lot to stay married in this day and age. It's not that it's harder. It's that we expect it to be easy. And it's not that marriage, when you're with your best friend, necessarily is difficult. It's simply that we don't allow ourselves to partner each other like we're our best friends. Like I've said, society seems to say it's a permission to spar with each other. Verbal sparring is very hurtful, people. It's extremely hurtful. Most of us in relationships today do not like where we are. Most of us in relationships today blame the other one for where we are. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of concern. There's a lot of insecurity. And that all stems from us. All of us, most of us, are born with the dream that one day we'll get married. But really, is that or should that be a goal of today? For those of you who need that goal, by all means. But make sure you are serving you first. People do not need to be married today to buy a house or to even parent children anymore. Many single parents are out there, and they're doing quite fine. It used to be not acceptable in society. Even, 40 years ago, it wasn't acceptable to be pregnant and unwed. Now it's quite common. So you have to ask yourself, when you think you need to get married, you need to sit yourself down and ask yourself, why? Why is the piece of paper so important? Yes, it's true that the piece of paper does show the rest of the world, and the ring does show the rest of the world that you are with one person. But your actions can also show that, because haven't you found that a lot of people who are married don't like to hang out together? Not everyone. That's not a sweeping statement. But many of them, once they get married, I need a girls' night out. I need a night out with the boys. If that person's your best friend, don't you think you'd want to hang out with them too? No, not all the time. But don't you think they'd be someone you want in your life, not someone you're trying to get away from? Well, he or she is always complaining at me. And you see, that brings me back over and over again like a broken record as to what we've produced in our society for this relationship. We'll talk more about that in a second.